Hey everyone, I just want to give you an update what's happened since court. What happened was we were in court on the 26th and 27th. Right now we're just having a bit of R&R and having a lot of debrief of what has happened since that time, making sure we capture everything. Obviously we will need to have the court transcript in due course, but a lot of things transpired and very important to capture those things. At the moment the judgment is reserved, so I can't really talk too much about what happened, but I will give you an update shortly. So the most important thing is that some of the preliminary things that happened just before the hearing, like the suppression and non-publication order they sought, I discussed about in my previous video. Those applications, which are so irregular, oppressive, and it makes you curious why a legal regulator would be interested to conceal such documents that relates to the practicing certificate refusal documents that relates to us and solely affects us. So the only person who would make such application would be us, because it affects us and our livelihood. That application was dismissed. Now, I can't really say what's happened because judgment is reserved, but I'll tell you this. If you think that suppression order was already a lot to even conceptualize about the actions of the Law Society, then what I will share with you later on, how they actually took us out. It's crazy. It's crazy. But yes, so for those of you, you don't even need to be a lawyer or have legal background to really understand our case. This case is effectively, they took us out of legal practice, 2 lawyers and a law firm, without any proven case, and never gave us any ability to defend ourselves, to present our case, to provide evidence and exculpatory evidence. They only use commentary, unfounded allegations. And you know very well how dangerous it is to use allegations against someone, especially as a professional, and never prove it. No one should be taken out of their profession and their livelihood based on allegations. That's how dangerous it is. And this is a perfect example of that's what happened to us. There is nothing proven. We don't have any record. We don't have records of any kind. No professional misconduct, no unsatisfactory professional conduct. Those are the 2 conduct statutory breaches under the uniform law. I won't say too much, but you don't need to be a lawyer to understand that something's not right here in this case. And there's a whole history here. The history of making reports to the very bodies I'm supposed to make reports about issues of misconduct of other lawyers and suspected offences, accessing the courts and so forth. Adam and I, we have nothing to be ashamed of because we just access the court, and this is a case where there's also concerns judicial officers and they're recording in the judgments, of which the Law Society were actually notified of, and they were given exculpatory evidence and they never engaged. We were effectively muted throughout whatever process they were undertaking. But let me just tell you this, all they rely upon is pure power, no process. So our argument is that they didn't take us through any Chapter 5 uniform law process, which is the mandatory process when you're making allegations of conduct, and that is you have to put it through the disciplinary framework of Chapter 5. And Chapter 5 provides all the investigations, all the requirements of assessments and timeframes of submissions. And if pursued, then the NCAT, the New South Wales Civil and Administrative Tribunal, which gives you the legal process. That's when you have timetables, you are heard on the matter, tested. This is where they have to make sure that every allegation, every single allegation is actually recorded, each one of them, so that the NCAT will determine each one of them whether they actually can prove it to the civil standard of proof. None of that occurred in our case. Effectively, it was like a shortcut. to take us out. And we're saying what they've done is unlawful. It was improper. Some of you may have seen the documents. We are absolutely transparent with our documents. They are online on our website, odtojanlawyers.com.au. They are on the August update of Artem, where there's a whole documents there of the decision, all our letters and correspondences, and everything that's related to that. We'll update more. We also have a response from the Premier in relation to the matter. We've made reports. We've even made reports to the bank because they interfered with statutory trust account and will not interact with us. We also reported about them receiving our funds and just not even communicating with us. Like, could you imagine the bank is absolutely shocked that they're like asking, what do you mean that the Law Society doesn't respond to you? And I'm saying to them that for 15 years, I've dealt with them. I've renewed my membership and so forth. This is the first time they're just ignoring me like as if I don't exist. And yes, they were pretty shocked, and I even told them at the situation how it was just rendered unfit without due process, and everyone seems to understand. But how can you be taken out without due process? We will keep fighting and standing up and speaking out because this is our lived experience. And at the time the hearing was being conducted, they were celebrating women in law, and I want to make sure that everybody gets a balanced view and perspective of my experience as a woman in law, a woman of color. And I had to build my firm myself. You know, I put my husband through law school. Nobody assisted me. I did this pretty much on my own. And even despite all the discouragement and so forth, I had to fight to be where I am. I've had to build my career, my firm, build my client base, all to come down to these people making opinions and commentaries against me. That's not the law, but that's not the law. And you all know that. You have to prove your case to the civil standard of proof. No one's livelihood should ever be taken away without them being heard and without having due legal process.